Okay, so good afternoon. Our topic we got was on child neglect, presented by me, Adriana Calleros.
Alyssa Lee.
Alexandria Gradius.
Vicky Duran.
Derek Mireles.
So what is child neglect? It's treatment that puts a child's health or welfare in danger, and it falls under two categories. So general neglect, not providing the child with basic needs like food, shelter, water, clothing, supervision, or medical care. And the second one is severe neglect. So failure to protect the child from severe malnutrition or willfully causing a child's health or person to be in danger.
So these are the statistics of child neglect. Of 3,534,000 rounded children who were subjugated to an investigation or alternative response. In the year of 2018, 60.8% of those victims were considered neglected. The highest rate of child abuse and / neglect in childhood under the age of 1 is the 25.1 per thousand. The annual estimate of 1,750 children died from neglect in the year of 2020. And of the children who died, 73.7% were suffered from child neglect. Most victims, which is 45.3%, suffered from a single type of neglect, and 15.5% suffered from two or more types of neglect. The number of child fatalities due to child abuse and neglect increased by 60 in the year of 2019 and continued to decrease in the year of 2020. The national estimate of 1,840 children died from abuse and neglect in the year of 2019, but compared to the estimate of 1,780 children who died in the year of 2018. And as you see in the statistics to your right, we talked about child abuse and neglect related to ED visits at the end of the administration. So as you can see, the blue is March to April of 2019, while red is March to April of 2020. And as you can see, there is a spike in ED visits compared from 2019 to 2020.
And here are the impacts of neglect. Children may suffer cognitive deficits, social deficits, abnormal physical development, a compromised immune system, and even long-term chronic physical disease. Children may also develop disorganized or insecure attachments, issues and styles, social withdrawal, learning difficulties, poor school performance, negative behaviors, and changes in the brain due to toxic stress. Neglect has also been linked to aggression and delinquency in adolescence. And also the societal impact of chronic neglect may include school absenteeism and dropouts, substance use, crime, and high cost to child welfare systems, juvenile courts, and schools. Next are the impacts of abuse. Abuse can be physical, emotional, and or sexual, and the impacts come in three main forms: primary, emotional, and social. First, primary are pain and medical problems from physical injury, and in severe cases, death. Although the physical pain from cuts, bruises, punching, and strangling may heal, the emotional wounds endure. Next, emotional. Eating disorders, inability to concentrate, including ADHD, hostility, depression, apathy, lethargy, and even sleep issues. And lastly, social. Many abused children have difficulties forming lasting and appropriate friendships. They are unable to trust others in simple ways, and children who suffer long-term abuse also have a tendency to lack basic social skills and can't communicate naturally like other children are typically able to.
The outcome and long-term effects. Child neglect is the most commonly reported form of child maltreatment, and it affects almost 30 out of every 1,000 in the US, accounting for 70% of all reported maltreatment in the country. Neglect is associated with effects unique from physical abuse, especially throughout childhood and early adolescence.
So three solutions for child neglect. The first solution is understanding how you can report suspected child abuse or neglect. You could first start by contacting your local child protective services office or law enforcement agency Additionally, you can call or text the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-4453. Professional crisis counselors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in over 170 languages. All calls are confidential. The hotline offers crisis intervention, information, and referrals to thousands of emergency, social service, and support resources. The second solution in child neglect prevention is knowing who can report child abuse or neglect. Anyone can report suspected child abuse or neglect. Reporting abuse or neglect can protect a child and get help for a family. There are mandatory reporters of child abuse and neglect. In all US states and territories, there are laws identifying persons who are required to report suspected child abuse or neglect. Mandatory reporters may include social workers, teachers, school personnel, childcare providers, physicians, healthcare workers, mental health professionals, and law enforcement officers. Some states require any person who suspects child abuse or neglect to report. Finally, we can prevent child neglect with intervention programs and policies. For example, the 2018 Family First Prevention Services Act requires the child welfare field to continue building on its knowledge and implementation of evidence-informed prevention practices to help mitigate and end the devastating consequences of child abuse and neglect. Due to the long-term effects of child abuse and neglect that have on the child's physical, psychological, and behavioral health, providing quality primary prevention programs and services is vital. Programs and services that focus on the overall health and well-being of both children and families and that are designed to promote resiliency and parent capacity are key to preventing child maltreatment. To increase the likelihood that children are safe from maltreatment, communities should move beyond efforts solely built on public awareness campaigns to an approach that emphasizes the vital role of community, early intervention services, and collaboration, and acknowledges that all parents need support.
These are some programs and organizations that support early childhood. This organization, Fight Crime, Invest in Kids, is dedicated to reducing crime rates among children and creating solutions to reduce repeating crime. First 5 LA is an organization dedicated to the importance of the first 5 years of a child's life. This group believes that the future of the state depends on investing in our children now. The NCCP is the National Center for Children in Poverty. They are dedicated to improving the lives of low-income children and their families. CLASP is the Center for Law and Social Policy. Their goals are reducing poverty, promoting economic security, and advancing racial equity. Again, all of these organizations emphasize early childhood.
This is a reference page. Thank you for your time.